Live. Fellas, you say you care about her, right? She's important to you, isn't she? You want to see her expand. She means the world to you. Well then, stop getting in the way of her healing. What do I mean? Just that. Now, how many times in your journey as a man has something happened where you've been navigating with a woman that you care about and something's triggered something inside of you that has stopped her from expanding into her full self and you knew it? I want to speak to that aspect and take this opportunity to own up because yes, we know it goes both ways. Yes, we know that there's things that have happened in our past that where we felt, kind of smushed and shrunk. As a man, you can say you've been disempowered. You felt, emasculated. But also, there are many subtle ways where we as men have the opportunity, where we notice there's something going on with a woman, the women in our lives. And what happens is we find a way to diminish them. And sometimes it happens so quickly that you don't realize that till after the fact. So today's live, I'm going to invite my brother Source. I see you on there for the request. What up, Phil, Laura? And we want to have this discussion from the standpoint of healing. So I'm going to invite my brother Source on. Speaking to in our podcast, which is alive for today, in the series of discussions that we've continued to have in terms of generational health and un-gentrifiable wealth is this very topic. My brother Jermaine, turn your camera around.
Yeah, let me turn around.
Facing you, hit the little circle button on the bottom, please. And
let's
so
see.
I'm doing the introduction. As he finds that, the circle, there should be a circle button in the bottom. Looks like two arrows, yin and yang.
Let me see.
Yes.
Let's see real quick.
So
yeah, I got it.
So I'm speaking to this, right, as this has come up between us as we've been in this space to help people in a growth space, and often we get the opportunity to assist couples, and one or the other party in the couple dynamic. Hit that button, please. In the couple dynamic.
I got you. Give me 1 second.
All right, it should be right on your screen. One or two of the people in the couple dynamic, and we're just going to stand from the standpoint of the male, will have an ego that pops up, or will have something that kind of gets in the way of the download of the information being, spoken to the person. Now I'll need you to back your camera up a little bit, brother, so we can see your full face. Yeah. Beautiful. Yeah, maybe just a little bit further back. And I think both of us are on the screen. Can everyone see us? Somebody give me a thumbs up if you can see and hear, because I want to jump right into this topic as well. And I'm of course very honored to have you on, Jermaine. Back the camera up a little bit from you if you can. And as gets right to business.
Give me 1 second.
Take your time in this space, of working with people, working with families, even holding space for ceremony in the space of men's groups. Now, one of the things that I try to always discuss with my brothers, with the fellas that I'm guiding through the 8-week process is, what is your ultimate vision? What is your relationship to the women in your life? Where do you want to go with?
So it sounds like
how is it that you'd like to? Excuse me, brother.
I hear a lot of echoing, man. What is that?
I don't know. There's no echoing on my end. Does anyone else hear them? Can you hear me clearly?
It's like it's repeat.
Jermaine, I'm going to start the live over again for continuities. There's no echoing on anyone else's end, so maybe it's your headphones. I want to get this cracking, brother. Can you hear me okay?
Can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine. No echoing on my end as well.
Okay, well, the echoing stopped. The echoing just stopped.
Perfect.
Absolutely. It was echoing back and forth what you was talking about.
Hey, so let's jump right into it. All right, I'm happy to have you here, and I'm really the intention is to honor the women that we navigate with, but also here's the main point of this, okay? Fellas, we lose sight of the fact that as we amplify, as we hold space, as we hold the structure, and we honor the women, we dive into the mysteries, we become curious about what is this being before us that we proceed from. We also honor ourselves. So the main bottom wisdom of all of this is that as we suppress a woman, we're actually suppressing
It's
an
doing
aspect of
it's doing it over
ourselves.
again, man. Like
Jermaine, what?
so it's doing it over again. Whatever you were talking about 5 minutes ago, it's repeating it over and over and over and
I,
over again, and
I want
then
you to I
over
want you
what you're
to
saying
log
right now.
off and log back on.
Okay.
Thank you. So it looks like there's a delay on his end, and this happens sometimes, especially when we're trying to speak to something that's super important. So I'm not going to stop the live, but I can chop this up and then put this back on again. As we were discussing, and again, me being in the space of some of these healing spaces, what you find is that men often hamper because of our egos, because maybe you'll be working with someone and we think we know so much, and yet the real truth of a woman in her healing is found within her, right? The journey is to support not just her, but also the men in your life, the other beings in your life, to come into a remembering of how to access the wisdom that they already have inside them. So dealing with the body, dealing with healing, dealing with, navigating what we call illness is really observing a progression of going from one state to another. And so one of the states that you may find a person in is a state of congestion, right? What many people don't know or think of when we look at Mother Nature, and now I'm going to speak from a scientific aspect, is that we're dealing with something called pressure mediation. We talk to flow, right? When you deal in the energy healing metaphysics, what you see is that people are congested in a way, just like I'm a little congested in my nose, right? The energy must flow, and as energy flows, you have the natural unfoldment of a person, of a being, of a consciousness. Okay? I'm going to let Jermaine in. And so as that energy is flowing, as consciousness is flowing, then things can progress naturally. Let me pause, and I haven't lost a beat on that. Phil, thanks for joining, and everyone that's joined in right now. Jermaine, how are you doing now? Is this good? Is it clear?
Okay. I'm fine. I can't see you, but I'm good. I'm good. I can hear you. I don't hear the echo anymore. Yeah.
You can't see, but you can
I'm
feel
I'm,
me, huh? Can you hear me
I'm
okay?
good. I'm good. Well, the
Okay.
other one,
The
yeah,
video
we
looks
good.
the video looks fantastic.
Okay.
By the way, it's good to see you. Good to see your face. I miss you out here, and I just want to introduce you briefly, and I'll tie right back in because what I was speaking to was energy flow, right? And how
Okay.
important energy flow is to the natural healing process. Okay? And both of us are energy workers, so we know that often what we look into in a person, and I can tell you how this comes across in all aspects of the work, is blockages. When you have a blockage, things start to accumulate, just like in flowing water. When you have that accumulation or that stopping of the flowing water, there's a stagnancy. With the stagnancy comes an unpleasant, can be an unpleasant odor, can be, infestation of a certain bacteria in the water, which will be unhealthy for other people who are engaging with the waters. And so we're not so different in that. And what we have is, a very fantastic expression of the waters of life in the female, in the visage and in the form of what we call the woman, which we are not in competition with, of course, right? We are a component. We proceed. We come, all of us come through women in this life. And so it's asinine, but yet it is a very commonplace for us to project some of the things that have happened to us in the past and also try to like tighten and put a hand on that power and stop the flow because we want to exercise the level of control. But most of that we know is coming from a place of ego. And yet it can be hard to stop ourselves from that. But I think the difficulty comes in us not putting our hands on the why. Why would we want to stop the flow? Why would we want to support women? And why would we want to understand how to not get in the way of the healing process of the woman? the women in our lives. So for me, I tie that to the fact that we're all one, but we lose sight of that. I want to just again share. Jermaine is a healer. He's an energy worker. He's an individual who creates mineral compounds. He doesn't create the mineral compounds, but he's found a way to bring them together, and he's been able to heal himself in such a deep and profound way. And he also offers healing to the tone of a Dr. Sebi and Yakai, awakening. Like he's doing work at that level, and I'm really grateful to be able to collaborate with him and also open up these spaces. And what's important for us in this work that we're getting to do is also to establish a baseline with some of the men and the women that we come across, especially, to determine who really wants the healing, who wants to engage in that healing, and who doesn't. Jermaine, I'd like to just hand it over to you and just get your thoughts, or have you share on some of what you've experienced in the space of men, and maybe some of the things that pop up that could get in the way of a woman along her healing process as she reaches out to you.
Okay. Well, I appreciate you having me on here, man.
Thank you.
Appreciate everybody. How y'all doing, man? So in order to get down to the basis of it, we got to start with the beginning of usually what happens, in my experience, usually with a woman when dealing with her health or her chakras before we even get to the male. Usually, this is anybody, so this is technically not just pertaining to a woman. Usually we carry things from childhood we haven't dealt with. Say, for instance, if a woman is told, hey, be quiet, hey, you shouldn't talk, hey, you shouldn't this, hey, a woman shouldn't that, hey, whatever the case may be, and she's dealt that, then her throat chakra is going to be affected by that, and she's going to carry that on, and she's going to look, if her father told her that, or mother, whatever, she's going to look for a different energy to fulfill that later on in life, which usually turns out to be a mate. So usually it works for a little while because the man might be dominant, the woman might be passive, but at the same time, what happens over a period of time is a man usually realizes her weakness and actually in a good way tries to fulfill it, instead of having her deal with it because it might affect his ego. So therefore he takes it on, and usually over a period of time, it slowly turns into a borderline form of control, and it's under the word protection. So it's usually, it flip-flops. He said, I'm trying to protect you, but technically, so what happens is somebody like me comes along, and by this time, it started off as a child, remember. He's just replacing the face of what started off as a child that she didn't, that was embedded in her. And usually what happens is their whole life by now is surrounded, their whole relationship is surrounded on, she might say, for instance, they might work because she does this, or she strokes his ego, and she's a little bit more past, she's more this, but then over a period of time, because she didn't deal with it, say for instance, the throat chakra, now it's affecting her glands. So a couple of things in the throat chakra is, okay, if you're not strong-willed, you can't speak, then your throat chakra shuts down. And if you, over a period of time, it starts to turn physical, and then it turns into, swollen glands. Now your thyroid is, now it's affecting your iodine. Now it goes into all the physical stuff and all the words that they like to throw out there. And what happens is, being the healer, coming in like me, I'm the villain and the hero, because I have to fix what you started from the beginning, but also turn around and y'all made a decision to go this way. Say, God forbid, y'all go the medical way. I have to also fix what they did as well. So I'm the hero from that aspect, but I'm the villain because I have to tell you that that a lot of the things, in order to fix this, you have to change, and your life is now built upon this. So that's where the ego comes in, because the man has built his life off his ego. He's built his life, most men, most of us, including me, I used to do it too. So I used to do it as well before, but I built my life off of my ego and societal goals instead of internal goals. So I already did it backwards. I already built my foundation off of sand, but I'm thinking I built it off of rocks because societally it looks like I'm doing something until I found out that it's sand when something internal happened and my money and my other stuff can't fix it. But now it's an option of, okay, well, now I come to fix the woman and I tell the woman that, hey, you have to do these exercises, you have to do this. And what happens is sometimes it'll get in the way of the relationship because it wasn't built on that. And so now the man might come in and say, whoa. Like, I didn't know this was a part of healing, because now it's starting to shake up our relationship, because our relationship was built off of this. You know what I mean? And it's also vice versa too for the man as well. You know, it's just a lot of times our ego get in the way and we don't like to come for healing. So we'll sit up there and literally die. You know what I mean? But the woman is more like, well, I need help outside. It's not happening. But if he's the man and he's not a dominant person, then he usually over dominates it. And his ego can actually cause the woman, I see it all the time, they pass away. So, you know,
Brother,
it's sad.
let
But,
me just let me hop in right there. I want to just paraphrase some of what you shared, because you just packed in so many important things. Is it okay?
yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yes, yes. And you know, that's one of the things we skip, right? So what he spoke to was things that happen early in the life of a woman or man that deal around suppression. And then the counterbalance that's found in their choice of mate, where someone may lift them up in a way, but also provide a level of protection. But in the process of providing that protection, many times we don't know everything, of course, right? It's a learning process. So there's egos that come alive because you're entering different ego states in that protection, which will lend itself to control when you enter into spaces where you don't know. All right, because you've
100%.
been given that control. And then you
100%.
come into a space of the unknown, which would be in the healing space. And he spoke to, the suppressing of a woman's voice. And so really now tying it into the chakra center, the energy chakra of the throat chakra. And when that is suppressed, when that energy center isn't working, there's a direct correlation between that and how it expresses itself in the physical manifestation, which would be a glandular disorder, right? There's an order, which we think is flow, and now the glandular manifestation, which it's a closed system, so everything is connected, but you have an energetic system, and then you have a more dense system in connection to it, that would be the glands, right? Thyroid glands, as an example, and other
Absolutely.
glands that are connected. And so then you begin to have that blockage.
Absolutely.
And that expresses itself. And then what he also spoke to, which I think is really important, is, all right, so you have this dynamic, it's a relationship dynamic of protection that's lended itself to control, and you have things that we build upon. Hey, she trusts me for this, and what if, by chance, one of the things that you used as a man to set a foundation, you come to find out in that consultation or in that space is actually something that's a detriment to her. Now, natural human way of being is like, it's quick, right? Oh shit, this is something that I've caused, that I've created. This is a foundational part of the relationship, and he's speaking to say that that thing needs to change. I don't know if I can change it. Happens so fast, man. And what do? Maybe we shut it down. Maybe we create some kind of protection because we're thinking, oh shit, there's probably some guilt and shame wrapped around. I helped to bring something into our dynamic that's not benefiting her. That doesn't look good. She won't trust me. I've lost my woman, right? I've lost this. And in that fear, you can actually lose her by not being willing to hold the thing that's the highest, which is her healing, which is submitting to the fact that another man may know a little bit more and identifying what you may not know. So it's really putting the ego aside for the greater good, which is now we're all in a learning process. Of course, you can reframe and shift everything in relationship. It doesn't mean you lose the relationship or partner. And where I stand, and I know this is where you stand as well, if the person that I love is healing, if the price for their healing and their health is for us to lose the relationship as we knew it, bye-bye relationship.
Yes,
because
absolutely.
we can enter into a better relationship because that's the higher thing. But it's hard to see. And so I thought it was really important what you mentioned about the chakra, and I wanted to draw the connection for people. Anyone else that's watching, the energetic center, which is maybe unseen, and then the seen aspect of it, which is what goes on in the glands. And we can speak to the throat chakra and what you see in people, being stopped from speaking. And then also, it's important that villain and the hero, which is the villain, which just like a parent, just like a good person in life, sometimes you have to be the bearer of bad news, but the bad news also carries the good news. The bad news is you are living in a dynamic, you're doing some things that aren't beneficial, but thank goodness you got the news. So are you able to relinquish the projections on the person sharing the news long enough to really receive the fact that within that news is the opportunity to do well know-how and the information that's needed to create another dynamic that's healthy. And so I think, I would then turn it back to you because, it's easy to skip these tiny things because it
Absolutely.
happens so quickly.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Please continue,
Absolutely.
brother.
That was a good breakdown, man.
Thanks, man.
Absolutely, man. We don't know everything as men. So
Yeah.
we have to get out the way sometime. We have to look at it like, okay, and this with all utmost, of course, respect, but we go to Western medicine and we let these people tell us they'll take a goddamn raccoon nuts and put it on the top of our head and we gonna run your spinal cord through it and you don't give any feedback, any resistance. We have to check these mental states and then turn around, we find out later, and then probably post it, are we going through this treatment? You guys, and they attach some kind of pride or emotion to it, why they actually, the effects are showing you that it's detrimental. But then when we go to the next option to say, okay, this didn't work. Okay, this raccoon nuts on the back of my head did not work. Okay, I need to go to the next thing. You have to come with just as, usually when you come, it's usually going to be something opposite to what they do. Natural healing is a lot opposite to what they do. So say, for instance, I'll use an example. For example, I've dealt with a couple people before. They've had issues. Of course, I'm not going to get into the specifics, but it's been women that have had IUDs in them, which are like a form of birth control.
Right.
And it was not thought to be a part of the problem. But as I go through the questions and I ask, and I'm like, do you have anything, any kind of birth control, anything, because it was for a situation dealing with a chronic situation like muscular sclerosis. So I need to find anything that will block the flow of the muscles. So when she got down to, well, yes, I do have an IUD and I'm getting ready to take it out because we want to have a baby. Okay, that let me know right away, because one thing about an IUD is IUD has, it does something. It sends out a chemical form of something called progesterone. All right.
Right.
Progesterone is the chemical form of progesterone that your body naturally creates. All right. So it's a chemical version. All right. What that does is that blocks, and well, it actually mimics and attaches on to estrogen receptors. All right. And what it does is it blocks estrogen function. That's one of the ways how it stops you from getting pregnant. So they always use forms of anti-discipline, of our weakness of anti-discipline. It's with all due respect, but of anti-discipline and anti-control, and put an emotion to it. And that's usually how we end up doing things. You can do whatever and have freedom to do whatever and not have discipline, but this is your option. And that's usually always going to come with dire consequences whenever you have an anti-discipline type mindset. So
let me just, and this will be super short, so please don't lose your train of thought. Now we're speaking to IUD. What that stands for is intrauterine device. This is the device uses birth control. And again, what our brother is speaking to is like knowing the fine line between, and you want to exercise this caution with any healing modality, whether it's Western medicine or allopathic, healing medicine, even the holistic thing. There's a fine line between looking at a process, because some people have used holistic processes in the wrong way as well, and then looking at the results that are happening over a period of time. And if the results aren't getting you closer to the healing that you desire, then that's when you take a pause. And I heard you say raccoon nuts? Like he's being, like, maybe not using raccoon nuts, but he's being like facetious in saying there can be a very, bizarre thing presented to you by Western medicine, and we'll do it because of doctors, because you got a degree. But really, we don't necessarily all have the time to look into what is actually being presented. And then the fact that these things aren't holistic in process, they're going to have an effect on the body. And the other thing that he's speaking to is really principles, right? We're presented with options to skip the IUD. Okay, there's maybe some good reasons to utilize that, but there are also a lot of folks who just, we want to be able to get it for free, so to say. Same with protection, same with condoms, same with whatever we're doing. Where he's speaking to utilizing a discipline is actually putting some forethought before how we navigate connection with another person, how we navigate copulation, how we navigate reproduction. And what we're often offered is a quickie, a way to get something for nothing.
Exactly.
You know, a lot of men just want to, a lot of men will have sex and then here, take the after pill. You know, I'm just busting a nut. So it's like that ethos in a man, which would have to be corrected, has to come from some space to correct the thing. There's no this for nothing. And so trying to
Exactly.
get over, you know, and then in that process, hampering someone's health by the use of rubber inside of a vagina, which doesn't belong there, by the use of an intrauterine device, which may cause other, you know, complications for the woman in her body, but we get that thing for free. So I'll circle back to that, but I love what you're speaking to, and I wanted to
Absolutely.
point that out. And he's speaking to common sense. He's speaking to using some skepticism in either direction so that you can find out what actually works in the application of your common sense. And then he's also speaking to the nature of many men, as we've been taught, to try to get in there for free. There's another reason why we're trying to do that and connect. And so the different man says there is a consequence to every dynamic, you know, and
Yeah.
how we enter that dynamic with our intention. There is something that can happen to these women, so you're going to be thinking ahead of time before you engage with the woman emotionally, spiritually, sexually, right? And thinking, what is going to be the unfoldment from if I'm present in her life, what comes of that? And then taking responsibility for that. And even if you find out what you've been doing is wrong, you have the opportunity to course correct. And so these are the principles. These are principles that he's speaking to, as opposed to I'm gonna just bust that nut and be out of there. You know,
Exactly.
she's just because really you're doing that to yourself. All right, brother,
Exactly.
thank you.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I appreciate it, man. So
I
yeah,
appreciate it.
so just break. Uh-huh.
No,
What'd
I
you
said
say?
thank you. Please go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah, just breaking down a little bit, just the last little bit of the IUD thing, just an example. So something so small that somebody would think is so small like that, you know, don't realize that the chemical inside that's steady putting off attaches on the estrogen receptors and blocks, okay, the function that you want it to do, which is a baby. Okay, yes, it should stop you from having a baby, but estrogen also has 50 other functions in the body as well, and one of them is cellular repair. So now here you are, got this thing in you, and you exercising, or you know, like I dealt with a couple women. You know, she was exercising, and she couldn't, and she was wondering why I was bone on bone, like her body wouldn't heal. It used to heal, it wouldn't heal. Well, she had it in her for 7 years, and over a period of time, it started blocking. Well, it shut down what I call the factory, which is estrogen. So of course you have it in you to stop yourself from getting pregnant, but you're also stopping 50 other functions as well. Now you're having chronic headaches, but you also your body can't heal because you also stop cellular repair as well. So now it's turning into other things, and so that's what, you know, I'm saying as far. So now the man comes along, and sometimes they might have gave the suggestion to do it in the first place with good intent, or whatever, you know, whatever the intent was to do this function. And now here we come back, like I say, the villain and the hero,
Yeah.
and I have to be the bearer of bad news to let them know that hey, we need to take that out in order to create this function so her body can heal, because now it's done. One of the things that unfortunately, yes, you have made a decision on is now turned chronic.
Yeah.
So now we need to do this, and what we do as men a lot of times is our ego gets in the way, because now we look like, oh man, I'm supposed to be the hero. I'm supposed to be the one that you know, protect her. And oh man, now this man coming along, so now we turn a little, you know, we turn very we get real defensive. And it's like, oh, well, now what's your credentials? What's your this? What's your that? Instead of thinking about, well, the credentials of the people that put it in you, does that really matter right now? Because they doing it to you, and you still, and you having an issue.
Okay.
So we have
Yeah.
to put down our egos at that point. Say even to the woman, because she might look at you like, oh yeah, what's your idea? But that's the beauty of accountability. The beauty of, okay, I made a mistake. Let's fix it. You know, not let me block your healing and take on the detriment and the consequences of it with your life on the line. That should definitely not be an option. Definitely not by the ego. So that's just an example, but I see it all the time. Another thing is we're too busy for our healing. So we've set our life based around, oh, I'm busy, I'm educated, I'm this, I got a job, oh, we got a house, we got a this, we got a that, we got everything's based around go, 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 go. And now here I come telling you that you can't do that. That's a part of what's making you sick. You know, you might have to change around this here, that, there. Hey, you might have to eat something different. Yeah, you can't eat after 6 or 7 o'clock. You know what I mean? Because it's affecting this. You can't, well, I come in late from work. Well, you got to make a decision. And then this where the husband comes in more or less like, oh, well, because she's a part of the bread maker or whatever the case may be, or maybe he even made the rules of how their life is. And he's judging how good their life is based off of material things, even though he have a life threatening problem right in his face, you know? So, you know, we have at that point we have to pump our ego and say lives are way more important than anything material, anything egotistical. Even if we have to downsize, we can't care, you know. And you know, then he has to go back in his head and say, okay, I can't care what people think. He might have based all the things he have, his pride, his ego, based off I have this. And now you got to shut all that down to heal your wife or yourself. You know what I mean? But that's the beauty of healing. Healing is about unlearning. The ego is based off of holding on to what you think you have and present it to people like you really have something. So that's an issue, you know, with natural healing, because natural healing is always about unlearning, not about taking on, because your education don't mean nothing at that point. Nothing means nothing at that point. You know, at that point, it should be a new goal, a new thing to figure out what's most important. And that should be the longevity of the health. You know, even if we have to downsize and get rid of things. And usually that's met with a lot of resistance. And yeah, so that's another major issue that you know, that I run into a lot of times, you know, with the ego and things. And that's kind of like what you're doing already. Israel, you know, you involved, I'm involved with it too, but the mentorship,
Yeah.
where you know, men can come into a space and they don't have to hold up this big old ego. They can actually hear things from people just as wise and just as smart as them and with just as much wisdom, you know, where they don't have to hold up that facade like they have to do at the house. And, you know, it can be told, hey, accountability. Hey, it's okay.
Yeah.
Hey, you don't know everything. Hey, that's not the right way. Or not to say that's not the right way, but give you another option, a perspective of other things. And then if you are an open-minded man that wants the best, even if you don't say it, you might take that advice and go use it, where you don't have to and just say, hey, baby, we're going to make some changes. Hey, baby, we're going to do this. Even if your ego is too much to say, hey, I was wrong. Even if you can't say that, at least that provides a space where you can at least just make the change. And then we can look for separate options. You know, so no matter how far you go, if you feel like you can't say it because, you know, she might be I told you so type person, whatever, you still have to, no matter what, it's still things in place that are more important than your ego. You know, and when we're talking about lives at play, like as Raj said, even if that means that she splits up with you because she felt you caused it, at least you saved her life. Instead of you blocking it and then something happening and then you still, you know what I mean? That's not a win-win. That's only a win-win for your ego. And that's, you know, so yes, yes.
Thank you.
Yeah, I see it all the time.
I
All the
want
time.
to
All the time.
just summarize a couple things and then also thank you, you know, because it's like we don't necessarily, I'm not hearing this on Instagram, I'm not hearing it on Facebook or YouTube too often. You know, what we mostly hear are things speaking to a psychological disorder in people, say narcissism, and how that will affect the person or how people are bouncing back, but not the subtleties of our relationship dynamics, how we've been miseducated in terms of, you know, how we go about things in society, how we go about our healing, and the small, subtle ways that really add up to destruction, to, you know, disharmony, to a break in the union between people. And so you mentioned mentorship. I'm going to go backwards. Okay, you mentioned mentorship as a group setting for men, and it's a small doorway. There's mentorship, and that's for men to just experience being able to express themselves. But really, what's going on in that big men's group is that we're tending also to the feminine aspect, that energetic of the man that has been repressed, that needs to share and speak. And then they go home just from that little bit, and they have a different capacity, a different space opened up for the women around them because they know that they've been held by another larger structure for,
Yeah.
and by men, and now they have that activation and energetic, and then there's capacity and patience for whatever's going on in the women around them. That's one step, one small level, because I have embodiment as well, and then I have an 8-week process where we dive in, and so it's these are small doorways that we walk through to have the ego checked, because there's plenty of ego also within any men's group, but there's rules and a structure there, and there's someone
Yeah.
looking to navigate and to contend with, me as an arbitrator, moderator, facilitator. I can check and you move the egos around and allow for people to kind of blossom a little bit within that space. And so the same thing needs to be applied to the man, like a man will have to apply that to himself. And that's a learning process. And I love what you spoke to in regards to, because what you're speaking to is a man's natural inclination to want to lead whether he knows how to lead or not, and the detriment that can happen when there isn't a willingness to unlearn negative things, unlearn certain things that will have you leading someone in the wrong direction. And that's based in a true willingness and a humility, but a proper desire to learn the right way to lead and where to lead, and then how to help to create a certain environment. So then for men, those of you watching, okay, we want to lead. It's a natural desire within us. If you want to lead, here's where you want to lead. Be the leader in dropping your ego and identifying and finding out ways in other people you can reflect to help you, because it's going to help your household.
Absolutely.
Be the leader in accountability, which means no matter what was done wrong, own it. Because when you own it, that's actually more empowering, because the next step of owning whatever it is that you find out, which is a gift to find out what's been off, then you get to make a change. Be the leader and take action based on the good things, which means if you have to shift something in the house, if your wife has to do something so different that's counter to everything you've done, say, okay, you know what, we're gonna do it together. Do it with her. Do it to 2 degrees beyond what she's got to do it, and make it easy, so that one, you understand what she's going through, because you're built like that, and then 2, so that you can maintain the structure of what needs to shift, so she has something to lean back on. Maybe she'll be tired, not feeling like it, and be like, no, baby, we got this. That's where you want to be a leader. All right, be the leader in unlearning, which means
Absolutely.
if there's some information that's not accurate that you've been perpetuating in the household, maybe make the decision, be decisive in that space, and be adamant and be consistent in saying, I'm going to figure out what we need to do to stop the perpetuation of that cycle that we've been in. I'm going to unlearn. I'm going to let that go. And I'm going to create the space for the proper knowledge and the proper application to come in, so that we can have a healthy environment. Be the leader in creating the healthiest environment for her. Be the leader in, now it's not being a martyr, right? But be the leader in saying, what's best for me, what's best for my family, what's best for the beloved, what's best for our children, that's what I'm willing to do, in line with, balance, right? And up until the point where people need to, if they need to leave, if the dynamic needs to change or end, but this person gets life and health, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to lose the person. But if you're willing to dedicate yourself to that extent, then you'll get out of your own way. You'll definitely get out of her way. Okay? And then also be a leader in learning her. Most of the wisdom that I've accumulated over the years has been because I've been in relationship dynamics where women have been in the past beaten, kidnapped, also caged, ritually, mistreated, raped. They've done things with other women, and this is just my women dynamics. They've navigated different mental issues, right? So I've held space and I've journeyed in love and had to learn a lot about the mental construct, the physiological issues, be it fibromyalgia, fibroids, thyroid issues, etc. Because when you have one thing, other things manifest, and just wanting to learn, why is this happening inside of her? What is this doing to our relationship? How do I support her? And then how do I do the same with myself? So there's a lot to be learned from the woman, because she's the carrier of all the mysteries. And there's a lot of things we can't answer about them. I don't expect to know all of her mysteries, but what I've learned so far is in observing, even if she doesn't know a lot about herself, in observing and inquiring, you learn a lot about yourself in the process. And so this is where we want to be supportive. You feel me, brother?
Absolutely. 100%, man. 100%. You hit the
Yeah.
nail on the head, man.
You right on the head, and I really think what was cool was what you spoke to, again with the estrogen. So there's these different hormones, different transmitters in the body that deliver messages to different receptors in the body, and when something's in the way of that, you have dysfunction. Then we can be that same dysfunction externally, right? Within the body, if there's a block and the hormone can't do what it does, it's there's no cellular repair. For an example, with the estrogen, many people don't even know estrogen is tied to cellular repair. They just think, oh, feminine hormone, as opposed to elixir of life within a woman's body. Okay, right?
Yeah.
And it will probably do the same. For men, testosterone does one thing, estrogen does another thing. But let's not be so limited. This is an opportunity to look, and the knowledge is out there. And so, would we want to be the same thing as an estrogen blocker externally? No. But that's a fact of us being willing to learn, to look, and choosing to see with new eyes, and being open to then allow for things to flow. So we are facilitators. To be a husband is to create the garden and to tend to the things that grow within that garden. The feminine expression of Mother Earth, the feminine expression of the human, right? And so this is what we're really being called to do. And all we can do is, well, what we can do is look at where we're doing the opposite. These are just a couple of examples. Yeah.
Exactly.
Brother, are there any other? I guess my next question for you, and I just want to look at something here. So I'm taking notes as you were speaking. I'm going to list a couple of things, all right? And you just tell me your thoughts on them, any one of them. All right, here's some of the ways that we get in the way. And you spoke to subjugating the ego, not being willing to do that, because that takes will. So we want something for nothing. That's something that we can look at within ourselves as men. Being afraid to say that we don't know. Brothers, it's okay to say that you don't know. It's the first step in a process. Not knowing when to shut up. I know I have that issue sometimes. I'm speaking like directly. Sometimes, man, we got to shut the fuck up and just listen and look. And there's a lot to be observed, And I think that's where the wise man comes in, because he's using his other senses. One mouth, two, in regards to the other orifices. So use the orifices that are doubled up, and especially in the presence of a woman, because then you can discern. You can definitely discern if there's wisdom there or not, but you can also learn from her, because her body's expressing wisdom. She's emitting certain things that she in her consciousness, based on the structure, and I'll get into some metaphysics regarding that too, just so you know that you know what I'm talking about a little bit, will still emit and share to you, whether it's her posture, right? Her posture may be speaking to something that's going on with her. Well, then you look in the mirror and see that you do the same thing with your posture. She just taught you something. Whether it's her grace, thinking about her cycle, right? Thinking about the fact that she gives birth and life proceeds from her. Thinking about, so there's a lot. I'm going to continue with this list, okay? Not having a vision for and of her topic expression, which means you would want to inquire with her. What is your highest expression, my dear? How is it? What does the top health look like for you? Okay, then you hold that. This is what you can do in the womb that you've been given, this womb in a man, and that womb, right? Because we proceed from her, so we do have different aspects. Then you hold that vision, and then you're able to physically help her manifest it, if need be, and also not get in the way. Her top expression, okay? Not looking into the truth of her. What is the truth of the woman that you're next to? What is her truth? There's the truth that she says with her mouth. There's the truth of her actions. But then there's a larger truth. If you start to dig into what does the feminine represent to you, and if you are aware of that, then what you can do is support her in awakening to that truth. If she's asleep to it, or support yourself in awakening to that truth by paying attention to her and by digging and inquiring. The information's out there. The next thing is not learning about her body beyond pleasure. Do not let all the learning that you figure out about a woman. It's not enough to know about a woman's clitoris and her G-spot and squirting and all these things. Now I'm being, this is for adults here. There's more to a woman than being able to give her pleasure, although that's important, and being able to stimulate certain things, because she's everything, right? And so you want to learn some of the things that would hinder her body. It's important what we just learned about estrogen, okay? Because some of you men will take that. etc.
Yeah.
You dig what I'm
So
saying?
so so
Yes,
so
brother.
I don't mean to cut you up, but I want to
Okay.
expand on one thing you just said real quick because you mentioned some good
Yeah.
points.
Thank you,
So
brother.
so one of the things is very interesting because the more I go along this journey, the more I realize that we also have to realize one thing, that everything has been swapped around already. So everything you're mentioning about learning a woman, learning this, that cannot happen unless you let her express herself. Meaning, but the woman also has to want to express herself as well. She can't be wanting to try to be in competition with the man. She can't have these modern mindsets as well. That's also a key. She cannot express her own self naturally if she's doing a lot of masculine things. So the modern mindset of the strong and the this here and that there, that's going to confuse them and not let them activate the things they also have in the arsenal. So how does that bind with the man's ego? Well, one thing, unfortunately, a lot of education, and what I mean by that is modern education, because the definition of education is to draw from within. But we have this concept that we got to go to school. Now we got this. Now we're educated. No, 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 no. That's not education. That's not connecting to the divine and getting educational information without even having a book in front of you. No, that's not knowing what your body is. No, that's not tapping into different aspects that you can only imagine in your body. No, that's keeping you in the matrix. So how does that pertain to the ego of the man? Well, because if we get into the modern mindset, we're trying to hold a masculine aura here, but we're also unconsciously don't realize we're draining her by allowing her, or she might be choosing to do masculine things like go out there and work. You know what I mean? Go out there and work, go out there, do these other things, and then expect her to do some kind of duty when she gets back home. You know what I mean? So if you really want to tap into the feminine of a woman, then you have to give her the peace. You have to get out the way and realize that, and also for us as well. A lot of times we don't know what it takes to be a man as well, including me. Before I healed, I was the same way. So we have to realize that whatever this video or this perception that's in our head of she can go out there and do all these masculine things and then expect her to tap into her divine feminine, is an illusion. All right. Because we're not charging ourselves back up energetically. So what I mean by that with the ego and the woman is you have to also realize what position you have her playing. If she's going out to work and she's going out to this and she's going out to that, and which is okay if it's a certain situation for that. But I'm just saying, you have to realize that you don't know what she is because she has not blossomed if she wants it. Now, I must say it again. She has to want that because everybody says, oh, but you're strong in the wrong ways. Like you haven't even tapped into the other side of you guys. Now, some women are not afforded that because of life, but that's also an excuse because sometimes instead of watching a video program, she could be tapping into her stuff and learning little by little until she learned, whoa, I can manifest money without going killing myself, without following these other things. So I'm just saying, and it's flipping roles because the men, because they're being raised by a lot of women, the same thing I just said about the women, the men are becoming, the young men are becoming. You know what I mean? So we are getting suppressed with our throat chakras, and to the point where we're becoming docile beta males instead of an alpha male. So societally and money wise, we might have a little bit of money, but internally, we weak as I don't know what. But because we have this external material, that makes we feel like we're threatened by losing that instead of saying, I don't know what's going on just because I got a little bit of money. I don't know what's going on just because when that situation happened, when money don't matter and you can't fix it with money, then what?
Then what?
Then what?
Wow.
Then what? Then what? What you got left? What you got left? You gonna hold on to that or you gonna let it go?
You
So
know what you're speaking
it's a
to? I
bunch of
think that's
stuff
really
wrapped up
important.
in there. Huh?
As well as if I could, and I really appreciate you for mentioning that. So we're speaking to,
Absolutely.
Jermaine and I were using these terms masculine and feminine, but really I think what would help better is we can say the pseudo masculine and pseudo feminine. We're in a space and time as a collective of recapturing what that actually means, and not to be dualistic. You know, we talked to one of the events that I do is harmonizing duality, but the harmonization is the fact that there is no duality, and so we fall into these dualistic principles. But nature isn't a dualistic thing.
Yeah.
Nature is one, and so then understanding how we complement. What he's speaking to is the complementary nature, and us not being in that space of knowing that we can complement. So whatever your financial work, household dynamics, that's your business, right? But for it to run well and for you to experience harmony, then we need to know, we need to allow all of it to be expressed, and then identify, okay, how does that expression lend to where you're having blocks? How does it like lend to, you know, proper flow? I'm just going to read something my sister Seek the Empress has said. She says, great points, Ezra. I love the way that you broke down the psyche, understanding the nature of both poles, also the beautiful divine presence. Thank you so much, sister. Yeah, I appreciate it, and I also say the same for my brother Jermaine as well. So, you know, check him out, really. And I'd like to definitely dive more into that. And I know that you're looking into and speaking from the space of understanding the metaphysics and the ancient wisdom. All of the ancient wisdom that we have, all the wisdom that's being utilized now, they're proceeding, right, in the medical, in law. All these things are coming from, of course, Phoenician, Egyptian, and even before that, but it's really the secrets of the feminine. We have a language. There was maybe no language at times, right? So the feminine is the mystery. We are the other aspect of the mystery preceded, which we're not such a mystery as men, but there are mysterious natures about us. But where do we get that from? We get that from the feminine. So being able to, in our space, witness the mystery means it has to be expressed. And it's up to the woman to decide, hey, if I choose to dive into my mysteries and let you witness or not. And then for us, we can just know that it exists, and have a reverence and a respect for the process, and then identify what would be good for us to do along the way. I think what you mentioned again, and as we speak to masculine and feminine, I just really want to hammer that in, that we're speaking to pseudo expressions, right, of our complementary nature that have been split, so that we can understand, just like we all are divine and we show up in these different bodies. Fine, we're here in different bodies. We have different hues in the human, different colors, different things, but really the journey is to come back to a unity and to an understanding that we're many things but one thing, or one thing with many expressions. So why would we stop the expression? And how can the expression be healthy? And you can feel it. The mystery of the woman is for her to share and for us to support. And then for every little bit of that mystery that we receive, we gain knowledge of self because we are of her. And so what is the responsibility there? This does not in any way diminish who you are as a man in a man body. And it doesn't take away from you amplifying, because we are amplifying each other, supporting each other. And Jermaine, I really appreciate you mentioning that it goes both ways, because we can also, so we're perpetuating a cycle. It can go both ways for then men who have been raised around a pseudo-expression of masculine feminine to then take on a pseudo-expression and perpetuate that themselves. And so what we're really speaking to is bringing an end, which we can, or shifting that pseudo-expression, shifting pseudo-education, shifting a pseudo-identity. Our identity isn't, we thought, oh man, I made all this money, I'm good. I don't know what the fuck's going on here. We thought I learned all these things, and then we get smacked with the disillusionment. But the disillusionment is great. And so can you stand, what you are can stand in the face of losing all those things, because it existed before those things had been gravitated. I was going to use magnetized, and I study magnetism. I study gravity. I'm studying the dielectric. I'm studying the ether, but I'm also getting to experience it, right? To experience the mystery. I just went surfing beforehand. I went out, tried to make it, got in the water, and there's things that come to me when I'm in the water, okay? And we can attribute the water to the feminine and also masculine as well. There's aspects to it, but you only learn by coming in contact. You learn by allowing it to express and observing, and then allowing it to come through you. Brother, is there anything else that you want to share? And I'd be curious also to hear from you, while we're just going at it, what other illnesses are you seeing, you know, in our sisters, and maybe that we're helping to perpetuate by some of those principles? You know, we're speaking to the issue with IUD and the estrogen blocking, essentially. What else, maybe with fibroids, or is there anything else you'd like to share that could be a benefit to our women that listen and the
So
men to know?
mhm. so specifically dealing with the man and the ego, correct? That's what you're speaking to?
Dealing with the man and the ego, or just anything that you're seeing that's prevalent,
Okay,
any
so
prevalent illnesses,
so,
and then we can tag that in,
so
a pattern in.
okay. So the illnesses are going rampant regardless. I mean, they're coming like crazy. But specifically to the man, usually with a woman, the things that come to me when dealing with the man, they're always dealing with the reproductive area, the sacral side of things. So we're talking about uterine, we're talking about ovary issues, we're talking about ovarian cancers, we're talking about stuff of that nature. Specifically dealing with the man, because that's where the woman stores her hurt, or her perception of hurt is in the sacral area when dealing with a man. When dealing with the hurt of a woman, she presents it in the breast. So the breast cancer, I think we talked about that before. In my experience, over and over again, it's almost like unmatched. Like I haven't seen it not be. But whenever a woman has bitterness, well, resentment and anger towards a woman, is usually manifests with breast cancer, like a mom or a mother or somebody she was done wrong younger, and she's holding that and it's just burning up. It's always in the breast. It's never a man. The man, her hurt, whether rape, whether whatever, it always expresses itself in the ovary area or the reproductive area.
Wow.
Always. Like,
Wow.
always. So whenever we get down to it, we get past the nutrient deficiency and then things are still lingering around, then that's usually when the metaphysical and the mental things start coming up to the surface, and it starts coming out later on. Is the hurt, because of course you need, a mental stimulation, and then you need a physical thing, which is usually bad food or something. Usually if you're strong on one or the other, usually it won't, you have stuff you need to deal with, but it won't manifest itself physically. But when you get all three of them, yeah, you cooking with some baking soda there. So and it manifests itself physically. So yeah, usually in the womb, dealing with a man, usually is the reproductive things, because that's what we attach ourselves so much to, is always literally and unliterally, is the reproductive side of things. And that's also where all the energies come in at. Every time they bump into somebody, every time they go to work, every time everything gets stamped. Everything gets stamped. Your kids, everything, even your kids are stamped on your sacral area. So your kids get older, they disappoint you. It's gonna hurt your sacral area if you view them in that way. That's why it's so hard to let them go. You know what I mean? You let them go. And then but you also release yourself from the sacral area and allow them to be held accountable for the decisions they make without you being held accountable for them.
Wow.
So yes, an epidemic as far as dealing with the men. Usually it's with the reproductive area, man. You know, and like I said, with the women, when it's a woman resentful or needy, resentfulness or neediness are the ancient, those the ancient curses of the breast, because it's supposed to be fulfillment and nourishment. So you give to the world, so you're supposed to be fulfilled. So whenever I'm dealing with, say a tumor or whatever, dropping a tumor, then I have to go reverse that. Because it's always neediness and resentment for a woman if it's in the breast. So I have to go back and redo that to let her know she's fulfilled, and whatever her trauma was is actually her strength. And
Wow.
it'll drop like a bump,
Amazing.
But yeah, that's but yeah. So
Man, that's
you
perfect,
know,
brother. I think those are really powerful, because what you've given and what you shared are locations,
yeah,
and the location of where certain things, where do they affect you, how they affect you, and why. Meaning, if you're dealing with an issue with men or you want to heal, just start to do that work in the womb area, right? Because it's going to show up there in the sacral area. And then also things that happen between sisters, mother, daughter, etc. It's going to show up in your heart space. And this is so it's really beautiful to identify that, and then to also know that the tumor, we can look at it a certain way. We've been told to look at it a certain way, but all these are manifestations of the body's healing. This is like the
yes,
body creating a secret space to contain, so that you can be aware, and then it can be removed. So you don't even have to look at your tumors or cancer or your fibroids as evil. but they're just the body communicating to you and an opportunity now to process, to not
Yeah.
let it, overdo, but to process. And we have the capability of helping you to process and remove. And I really love what you spoke to about location, because that's pertinent information, because you can start from there. If you're
Absolutely.
feeling resentment, or if you're feeling or you're noticing any physical manifestations, then you can tag. It's like try locating, right? Oh, I'm angry about this thing. Where's it going to show up? I can just do some work around my heart. I
Absolutely.
can do some work around my breast, and remember that the breasts represent abundance. And so if I'm feeling constricted in a certain way, and I'm feeling resentment, I'm feeling, what's the other one that you mentioned? Neediness.
Resentment
But this is
and
this is
resentment and neediness are the negative emotions of the breast.
yeah.
Resentment and neediness.
So you
It's
can
supposed to be
identify those. You can sit
supposed to
with
be
those
fulfillment.
emotions.
Supposed to be fulfillment and nourishment.
And this is what the breast represents, right? The breast
Yes,
represents life.
that's the ancient curse of them. That's the ancient
Yeah.
curse and the ancient blessing of them.
And they
Yeah.
can also tie into pleasure as well. So I
Yeah.
think we can close to wrap. I'd love to give you one. I just want to thank you. I want to thank you for the work that you're doing. It's an honor, really, to get to tag team with you, and also for the wisdom that you've shared. It's a lot of things that I hope those of you go over. I'll go ahead and put this on YouTube as well, because sometimes it's easier, but this will be here for posterity's sake. And I want to thank everyone that's tuned in. And then I'd like
Okay.
to invite you, before we wrap, to just, if there's anything else that you'd like to share, anything that's on your heart in regards to this subject, the floor is yours, brother. And pass it back to Ed.
Um, like I said, man. Well, I appreciate you having me on here, man. Plenty more to do. Plenty more to. But I'm just. I think we spoke on. I think we spoke on a lot, man. You know what I mean? I think everybody can go in. We touched on a lot of subjects. I think everybody can go on here. No matter what you do, no matter what you use, you can go back, rewind it over and over again. I'm big on always letting everybody know. Don't listen to nobody. You go, not even me. You go do your research. Stop listening to
Right.
folks. So the things we got on here, some things you won't be able to because they was found out by experience. Like, I experienced that over and over again dealing with people
Yeah.
to know that it's a common pattern. So it's not like gonna be on Google or something, but especially dealing with the breasts and the different things, and that's just from dealing with them over and over again with tumors and realizing but other things like the IUDs and how they block estrogen receptors and what does estrogen do in the body. And I just encourage people just to get out of the modern mindset and stop looking at all this damn TV and stop looking at everything. How can I say this? Like, it's all about freedom. Okay. The world, everybody we admire, no matter if it's a character on a movie screen or whatever, we admire their character because of what they've been through and their self-discipline. So the more self-discipline you have, the more self-control you have, the more powerful you become. Who do we follow that haven't done something great? We don't follow nobody who just has something easy. We don't follow somebody who doesn't have any discipline. So you look at yourself like you the hero. And if you have more self-discipline, instead of thinking about, oh, I got to be free all the time. Well, freedom is not always good. When people do stuff just because they free, that's not always. I had the freedom to go do some stupid shit out there down there by the store, but it's also consequences behind it. You know what I mean? Whether legal or not legal. So, freedom is not always good. Just because you have the freedom to do something, it's about the self-discipline and the self-control that's going to take you to the next level, no matter where you're going, no matter what you decide to do. It's all about this, no matter male or female. It's about self-discipline and self-control, and not more about what everybody's putting everything on about freedom. Freedom for this, freedom for it probably also has consequences as well. You have to look into that as well too. So, and they're probably a lot more dire than what that freedom represents. So, I just encourage people, not to sound like a Scrooge and like, oh, that fun. But hey, the faster you party, the quicker you tap out.
Cheers.
And that's that. So
Tell me
yeah.
about what you're creating right now, if you could share, and how to find it too.
Which one? You talking about the products?
Yeah,
So I have a set of products. I also have a set of healing protocols as well. That I help people out with. Of course, we do energy work, as well. Whether you hear, there, it doesn't matter. Preferably if you were here. But we also have compounds. I've created compounds, the same plants that I dealt with. If everybody been following me, that I used when I had 180 days to live. And I started eating the wild plants. So I have native plants, and I use native bacteria to repopulate the body. I don't order nothing online. Me and my team go get every piece of it to make sure we get the ancient bacteria to put in people's body. Not these modern ones that's all over Google that's messing people up worse. But hey, each his own. But yeah, so you can reach me at what is it? Main Source Energy Service.
Yep.
At Instagram. I'm new to this because I've been underground for so long helping people. I'm just now new to the mainstream thing, so they finally talked me into it. So yeah, you can meet me at Main Source Energy Service. I think at Instagram, Facebook, same thing. Main Source Energy Service, and TikTok. I think they got TikTok as well. Main Source
TikTok,
Energy Service.
right.
Yeah, TikTok as well.
Good.
Yeah, they've been putting it all over TikTok as well. Main Source Energy Service. But yeah, we have products, and I'm also giving a lot of information about the plants I use when they told me I was gonna die. And like as Ryan and everybody know, my dad's a doctor, so I went against everything when they told me I had 180 days to live with that leukemia. Even went against him. So and his perspective, and I give a lot of the plants that I use that you probably have in your area. So even if you don't get the products, go use them. A lot of them you probably don't know are edible, that'll stop a lot of issues. And it's right up there. Yeah, there it is right there. Main Source Energy. Appreciate it. Appreciate it, Jeff. Appreciate it, sis. Yeah, Main Source Energy.
Looking out. So that's where you can find them. And again, what he and I definitely tapped into is the simplicity, right? We can complicate a lot of things, but what I find moving on, and again, I'll share a little bit about myself before we close, but also just the topic, right? The topic again was, how do we hinder the healing process of the feminine in our life, the women in our lives? And so if the outward expression is the woman, the mystery. And if we're in a process of hindering her process, we're also hindering our process. So that's a selfish reason why it's worth it for you to look at these things. Things come up, and when you're being disillusioned, here's some of the things that come up. You may feel insecurity. You may feel a level of shame. You may feel some past resentments that we project onto them, right? And also, you come in contact with where you might be ignorant. Brothers, it's okay. If you have at some time in the past or currently, even just yesterday, even just this morning, got in the way of her expression, this is an opportunity now to say, okay, this is what I'm doing, and that's not what I want to do. And then to step into the empowerment of doing what's aligned, to learn from her, to also learn how to support her. And because we're one thing, you're really learning to support yourself, because you can apply every time you do it, because of the law of correspondence. You can apply, it becomes automatically applied to how you navigate with yourself and even other men. So we're going to get into these things. I think we should, I love what you've been sharing, my brother, as well, with the periodic table and how that relates to the body. My brother Halo's on here. We'll probably do a live with Halo at some point too, with Miss Tech. And
absolutely,
what I love is that, yeah, you're able to share things that people can find in their immediate environment, because wherever you're at, the healing is there. Because the healing actually exists within yourself. So you're just coming into a space of remembering what exists within and grabbing the external component that has been provided to you to solidify that. All right. Myself, what have I simplified? Now, I've had a career in health physics, which is radiation protection, cleaning up hazardous material, hazardous nuclear material, special nuclear material, as well as chemical material. Working with guys who also remove explosives, high level, I would say, in the military in various branches, but then also, as a contractor, but then also doing the work myself. And then shifting over to a holistic method through illness. I've navigated cancer twice, gone through depression, suicidal ideations. There's really a lot to the experience of the human that I've experienced, that I kind of over in terms of, all right, that's old story, but it's been given as a gift to now help men to get through. So I help people to get through. The work that I currently do, I'm in Tulum. All right, I do work with psychedelics, but no need at this point. I can utilize those as a tool. I'm a safe person to navigate that with, but ultimately it's the before. Before is, what is your intention? What are you moving through? What are your principles? What are your goals? What are your core needs, right? Identifying those and then inviting you to stand in those. So we don't even need to utilize those because life is psychedelic enough, but I'm the safe person for it, and this is why I will share. The medicines are Iboga, which is an African medicine, and Bufo. And then there's some other ones that I work with as well. But again, the real medicine is the medicine of the heart, the medicine of coming into truth, the wisdom of the metaphysics that surround us, understanding the universe, the conjugate nature of the universe and of us as human beings. So then the other work that you'll find me doing is working with men in the men's space as a dedication to the feminine. But now I'm also once again working with women. The men's space looks like man embodiment movement. I'll be doing workshops coming up soon. I'll be doing workshops with my brother Source as well. And this also looks like, again, mentorship, where we get together with the men. We want to go deeper. Then you step into man embodiment movement. I have 8-week programs that I take men through, and it totally shifts their lives. Why? Because I'm dedicated to that. And so within that 8-week program, which some men are on their 36th week, but really you can take everything from that first set. You know, I'm not going to go all over the place with the prices either. It's dedicated to you investing in yourself, identifying, learning more about yourself, having access to certain principles, and then being able to imbue that into your life with the vision of how are you going to show up for your family, ultimately first and foremost for yourself, then your beloved, then the environment, and then your legacy, right? We have blueprint sessions that I offer as well, and the corollary to the blueprint session, blueprint would be more towards your business. By the way, everyone who's navigating with me is 10xing, 16xing, because we like to hear that, you know, what they receive, because it's a magnetic, right? A magnetism based on navigating with your principles, feminine, masculine principles. Okay, so people like to hear that. That's not what I care about, but it's ultimately a result. So I can speak to it and tap in with them. You know, I don't even hardly do. Maybe I'll start to do some testimonies. I'll have some testimonies come up, but they're in it. They're in the work, and when you're in the work, that's what's important. The last thing that I would mention again is the intimacy sessions, the soul deep intimacy sessions, for male or female, but that's really where the women excel because it's a beautiful activation to have a man hold space with the intention, a balanced individual, to allow for that expression, for that unfoldment, and then to also be able to bring in that structure, support, plan of action moving forward so that you can continue to blossom and unfurl. This is my life's work. This is what I'm here doing, and now with my brother Source, you know, we get to also navigate the healing aspect of how you eat, your liberty, even though we call it diet, right? But your journey in living, what are the proper things that you can use to build a strong foundation physically, emotionally, energetically, protocols and processes that we'll do in the retreats, in the gatherings, in the teaching, and then you get to live as fulfilled of a life as you so choose. We're both living from that space. It's nothing to brag about. It's just this is our birthright. And so it's walking in the space of the birthright, and he and I are dedicated to the work. Hope you can feel that in my energetics. Take advantage, tap in, and stay tuned to what we have to share. What do you think, brother? Is that good? Do you have any questions?
Absolutely, man. You hit the nail on the head, my bro.
Bro, that's what we do.
Appreciate it.
So, thank you. And of course, I'll be having some surf gatherings too. So I've been able to take all that healing, you know, and there's neuro-linguistics, but also neural reprogramming and repatterning that brings into the physical that helps with the trauma issues. So it's really, they call it turnkey in the previous industry. It's a turnkey offering, right? Get in where you fit in. We're here, holding the space, holding an intention, and we're putting action to that intention. And we're cultivating more and more willpower to show up in the space, and it's an intention that's there for you. The gifts of nature, of life, of the divine goddess, etc., the abundance was there before you even came into being. That's how it always works. And so we are contemplating you before, you know, your need to reach out. This is abundance right there. And this is aloha on a Thursday. Love you, brother. Thank you so much.
I appreciate you.
Save this. Let's drop in really quick. Also, you know, I love what you said about freedom. Let your freedom not be a bondage. A lot of people have been bombarded, and we continue to be bombarded with things that look like a freedom that are actually a tethering. All right. And so I think it's important for each individual, and of course we can help with that, to simplify. I said a lot of words today, but the simple end of it is, and I love what he said, okay, freedom is not always what you think it is. So find out if your freedom is really a freedom. And if it's not, deal with it accordingly. All right. Freedom means removal of bondage. Free. Your ear is about to be free from all this smoke, right? And so take the opportunity to consider that, and then take the opportunity to give that. You can give it. You can give it to your partner. Give them her, the women in your life, the freedom to express themselves, the freedom to feel healthy, and then she will bless you abundantly, not just in the physical form of that one woman, but the greater form of the greater divine feminine. Facts. You'll just begin to see it. It's always been there.
Absolutely, absolutely, yeah, absolutely, man, absolutely. That's a very good point, man. If freedom is an illusion, it's very illusion. It's very elusive. It's very much illusory. Because a lot of freedoms are actually anti-self-discipline factors. You know, when you
Smiling because
really
there's
dig down to
a hard lesson that I've learned. If you cycle back when
yeah,
you watch this, you'll see every time you start to speak to these things which were an ass kicking for me, there's a big smile that comes up because it's like, yeah, man, he's speaking it. If only I knew him beforehand, But
yeah,
whatever, you got to go through what you go through. But I'm happy to smile about it on the end, and to know the benefits of certain disciplines and what they give. To know the benefit of seeking wisdom. We've heard it. Many of you've heard it. But like really it's better than silver and gold, and you still get both of those, you know? So it's like it's all here. This is a good place to be. It's a good time to be alive. A lot of information we're gonna try to share. And I'm really happy, really pleased to be able to do this in brotherhood and also brother sisterhood, you know? And
yeah.
so it's a fortunate thing,
And
man.
and just one last thing,
Yes,
and
sir.
also remember too, as we speak on that, the difference between freedom and how freedom also can be anti-self-discipline, and they usually don't go hand in hand, or anti-self-control and freedom usually don't go hand in hand. That's only when it comes from the perspective of peace in the body. Okay, if you
Peace
look
in the
at it
body.
from the
Talk to me.
perspective of the illusion of all the stuff they're giving you, then of course, you think freedom, 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 but it's an illusion, and you got to be very careful how you get pulled into that, because it's not beneficial to the freedom of your body and learning your body. Actually, that comes from self-discipline, because so many things have been cut off through too much freedom, and you can only access it through discipline. So
Wow.
just remember that.
Thank you.
That's only pertaining to societal stuff and all that trash they got on TV.
And I
With the freedom stuff. Whenever it comes down to unlocking the body and knowing what you are, usually because you've been taught that so much, it actually makes all the things that you need to access dormant. So now you have to go back and do discipline in order to unlock it. So it's like you say, healing is about unlearning. So you have to unlearn your perspectives, which control your biology as well. Your thoughts control what you believe and actually control your genes. So I don't want to get into that, but you got to
thank you.
undo all that and feel off, feel awkward. All that's going to come. You're going to feel off. You're going to feel awkward. You're going to feel like something not right. You're going to feel all that because you have to unprogram. So embrace all the feelings and allow the divine to do what it do,
Beautiful.
because you're a part of the divine. You are the divine.
You are
So
the
you
divine.
have to unlock
And
yourself. So
within that construct and true perspective, then I would also say this, throughout our chat, we have the tendency, we say they and we're looking, but also we both of us know that it's us. All there is you out there.
yeah,
And so, although there are aspects of yourself that would present itself, that aspect of itself, of you, as the enemy, it's just giving you the contrast and the opportunity to become the greater version of you. The dirt,
true.
the seed, the tree, the root, the fruit, it's really a whole one thing within this construct. So this is where I stand from. So Western medicine, holistic medicine, more ancient medicine, new knowledge, old knowledge, the things that we need to unlearn and the things that we need to learn, it's really all part of one thing. It's an oscillation. Okay, and so you can be grateful for some of the adversities that come your way because they're also coming from you. But it's just a version of you that you're a little bit separate from. And so I want to
Yeah.
draw that in
Yeah.
for the harmony. All of this is for your benefit, and that'll help you to release things. Okay. Want to thank you for
Absolutely.
tuning in, brother. I want to thank you for everything you shared. I'm grateful for the opportunity to learn some of the hard lessons and to soul surf in this life with you. Party wave, bro. Shoot. Aloha. Spiritual
Absolutely,
Alliance,
man. Thank y'all.
please take the time to tune back in. I'll share this right now, save it, and then I'll put it on YouTube. That's probably the
Okay.
easier way for people to watch, so that you can replay and pick the wisdom. Please, guys, check out my brother Jermaine at Main Source. Amazing. Okay. Aloha. Thank you. Thank
All
you,
right, bro.
brother. All right.
Thank
Peace
you.
one. Thank you.